Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today video I'm going to be showing how to make this delicious meat pie. Very simple to make, and it's so delicious. So make sure you check the description for all the ingredients I'm using and the measurement as well. Okay, now let's get to the ingredients. So these are what I'm going to be using: some grounded beef, carrots, potatoes, salt, vegetable oil, and peas. Peas is optional. I'm also going to be using some nut cube. You can even add more vegetables if you want, So the first thing, I'm going to clean up the carrot and the potato, and I'm going to dice them into little pieces. But if you don't want them to be little, you can just chop them into chunk. Depends on the size you want to have them. This is the size I love to have my carrots and my potato for meat pie, because I love them to be well cooked and soft and moist inside. So I'm going to go ahead now to dice the carrot and the potatoes. Then we'll move to the next one. So now I'm done with the potatoes and the carrots. Now we're going to move over to the sauce. So I'm adding oil into my pan over the heat. I'm going to allow the oil to hot. Then I'm going to add the onion I'm using. I'm going to saute the onion for about 2 to 3 minutes. Then I will add the meat. So now I'm adding the meat inside the oil and the onion, and I'm going to cook this meat until they are brown, especially until the water that comes out from the meat is dry. What you can see there is the oil I added inside. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead now to add the carrot and the potato inside the sauce. And what I normally do is I love to stir them and start to season the meat, carrot, and the potato, and I allow them to cook, just both to cook for about 5 minutes before I can add water inside. I'm not going to be using flour for this recipe, so I added a little bit of curry, some thyme, and some rosemary. So I just added a pinch of that, but if you want to add more, it's optional. So I'm adding 1 nut cube into the sauce as well. So after stirring them, I'm going to test if the seasoning are enough. If they are not enough, I'm going to correct them by adding a little bit more salt. So that is what I'm going to be doing. So after 5 minutes, I'm going to stir everything up, and this is when I'm going to be adding water. So I'm adding the water at the same level with the sauce, the meat vegetable sauce, and I'm going to pull the heat down and allow this to cook until the vegetables are tender. I love to cook it for about 1 hour 30 minutes over the heat. Over a low heat. I don't like to cook my meat pie meat very fast. So while that is cooking, let's move over to the dough. I added a margarine into the flour, and I'm adding a little bit of curry, salt, and sugar. Just check the description, okay, for the complete recipe. So I'm going to use my hand now, fingertips, to work down this dough. So I'm done working on them. So I'm going to add water now. As you can see, I'm adding the water just little by little. I don't want them to be very soft. So adding the water a little bit at a time will help you to correct the consistency of your dough. Okay. So as you can see, the fresh water I used fresh water for this is well enough. This is why you need to be adding it a little by little. Don't add water at once into your dough for you not to overflow your dough. Okay, so I'm going to knead the dough until they are well combined, and after kneading the dough, I love to leave the dough to rest for at least 10 minutes or more, depending on what I'm doing, but at least 10 minutes even if I'm not busy, before I roll out the meat pie. So moving over to the sauce, the vegetables are cooked, but they are not to the texture I want. So I'm adding a little bit more water into it, and I'm going to allow the water to dry up. Like I said, you can add flour, but I don't like using flour on my meat pie sauce. So now I'm going to be adding the peas at the end. Stir everything together, and I'm going to allow them to stay there for 2 minutes. Then I will turn off the heat, because the peas is very easy to cook. It's frozen one, and it's also going to be cooking in the oven. So now I turn off the heat, and I'm going to set that aside. This is the consistency I want my dough, and it's because it's cooked for over an hour. This is why it's like that. But like I said, you can add flour into your own. So moving over to the dough, I floured my working board. Now I'm going to roll the dough. Like, I'm going to first of all knead the dough again for a couple of minutes for the dough to start responding again. So when I know that the dough is responding, like it's okay, then I'm going to cut them into two and roll out the parts I want to roll out. I love to do them little by little. There is a meat pie cutter, but at this I don't have the meat pie cutter. So you can use any shape of cutter you want. So I have this round cutter that I'm going to be using as my own cutter, and I'm going to use fork to make it to look like that meat pie shape. But if you have the meat pie cutter, it makes things more easy for you. So as you can see, I'm rolling out those are the ones I roll out. And the meat pie sauce filling, I'm adding it into the center, as you notice, and that is egg and milk mixture, fresh egg and a little bit milk mixture. So I'm going to use it to seal the meat pie. Just watch what I'm doing here very carefully, because you need to don't overfill your meat pie. Okay, so I'm using a fork now to close the meat pie. Then I'm going to add them into my oven tray, and my oven is, I preheated my oven at 180 degrees as well. So I'm going to go ahead now to finish up the ones I roll out, then roll out the remaining ones before adding them to the oven. Now I'm done rolling the meat pie out, and I'm going to just use a fork to open them, just what you saw me doing now. And the mixture of egg and milk, I'm going to use them to egg wash the meat pie. Just rub it on top of the meat pie, then time to add send them to the oven and allow them to cook until the meat pie is brown, which is going to take you about 15 minutes or maximum 20 minutes. Okay, so this is my final result. This is the meat pie. This is how they brown. I love them so much, and I love the flavor they are giving me. So guys, this is all for this video. I hope you give it a try. If you do, don't forget to subscribe, share this video, and let me know what you think. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.